We're changing tack a little bit because one of the big stories as we head into the Premier League season again is around Manchester United, ticket prices, season tickets, and the clash between long-term fans and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Manchester United are trying to stop ticket touting. Every fan across the land of every football club agrees that we need to get rid of that scourge from our game. The issue is that there are hundreds of genuine fans claiming that they've been caught up in this process. They've been banned or had season ticket suspensions, been asked to justify all of their actions, and it's causing absolute uproar. Not what you want as a football club heading into a new season. Michael Carrick's first as in charge as permanent manager. So we're going to get into this now, and I'm delighted to welcome in Andy Mitten, the editor of the United We Stand, friend of talkSPORT, a real voice of authority when it comes to all issues Manchester United. Andy, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us, mate.
Good evening.
How you doing, Andy?
Andy,
How you doing?
I've tried my best to try and summarise it, but for anybody that is new to this story, can you just, from the perspective of United fans, just sort of outline what the concern is amongst loyal, long-time season ticket holders about what's going on?
I think you gave quite a good summary, actually. So last week, Manchester United fans, hundreds of them, received an email from the club which was quite accusing in its tone, asking them to send in detailed information and saying that their season tickets had been suspended until they did that. And the club they're trying, from their perspective, they're trying to curb ticket touting. And they've brought in a third-party group to do checks, and any accounts which have been flagged, such as multiple accessing, the people have been sent these emails from the club. I don't like the tone of the emails, and fans, in many cases, who've done absolutely nothing wrong, were worried sick to get these emails. It came as a bolt out of the blue for them. They're just looking at the phone and then they see this. What? Wait a minute, I might be losing my season ticket. Yeah. I've been going for 10, 20, 30 years, and there was a lot of alarm, there was a lot of anxiety. I'm actually in Scandinavia at the moment. I was in Helsinki at the weekend because I'm on the pre-season tour, and I spoke to a lot of diehard Manchester United fans, some of whom had these emails last week, and they were deeply concerned. Now, they think that the club want to reduce the number of season tickets, which is something the club deny. They think it's economically motivated, which is something that the club deny. But I feel that it could have been handled so much better, and that the anxiety is very real among Manchester United fans. That's why you're seeing a lot of angst online.
I spoke to my mate who's a season ticket holder at United, and the feeling, I think, amongst him and the people that he goes with is that lots of them have these season tickets or membership, and they take it in turns to buy tickets for a group of friends or for family members, for kids, elderly family members, and they very much feel that this is part of a wider picture of increased ticket prices, the reduction of concessions for, and sort of moving fans from one place so that they can put, tourists and premium customers in there. And it seems to me that it's a case of these fans who've been loyal supporters, local supporters for generations are essentially guilty until proven innocent. And whether let's say the club have got it absolutely bang on, every single email they've sent, they're all touts, which isn't going to be the case. It's the tone of the messaging to your loyal fan base who've gone through the absolute mire over the last 10 years.
I think the tone thing is absolutely right. I think you're right about the diehard fans, the loyal fans, the people who are there through thick and thin. They're the people who bring the noise, who travel home and away. And if you've done nothing wrong, then you're quite right to feel as angry and furious when you get an email like that. When all you've done is support the club and turn up at matches, and then you get an email like that, you feel undervalued. There's a lack of trust between the fans and the club anyway. The suspicion to the points that you're raising about the club wanting to move away from season tickets, which is something that they deny. But just look at the way football is going, not just at Manchester United. Look what's happening at Barcelona. Similar things are happening at other Premier League clubs. I remember writing 3 years ago, having spoken to someone at Chelsea, that they see season ticket holders as a threat. So season ticket holders feel cornered. They feel worried that something they love is going to be taken away from them. Again, Manchester United deny that is their intention. They say this is a genuine initiative to curb ticket touting, which they think is right, and they think that people are gaming the system. But in my opinion, it has been done. It has been done wrongly, and it leads to us having chats like this now. Because if you've had one of them emails, you're going to be absolutely annoyed and worried as well, because people are replying to requests for very specific information. And they're thinking, well, I've had this season ticket for X number of years, I'm going to lose it. And it's a big, big part of their life.
Andy, let me ask, what's the powers that be at Man United saying? Because listen, the community, the fans, they're the heartbeat of every club. And I'm a Liverpool man and I hate how together you man are. So, that just shows what I mean. What are the powers that be are saying at Man United?
There's actually a lot of parallels between Manchester United and Liverpool with the tickets. So they've got a situation where Anfield and Old Trafford are full for every single game, where demand outstrips supply. And fans feel that the temptation is always to charge more for executive packages, whereas my readers are the people who go home and away with Manchester United. Yeah. They feel very strongly that, they bring the noise, they bring the culture. The club I've accepted, I think, that the tone of those initial emails was wrong. Again, they feel that they're doing all they can to curb ticket prices. And I think fans would, as you said in your introduction, would agree with that.
Of course.
But because there's a lack of trust and suspicion, and because feel threatened, it leads to this situation.
It seems to me, and this is my opinion, Andy, that season ticket holders are a replaceable commodity by massive football clubs like Manchester United, because ultimately they don't bring in the revenue that a tourist does, or they don't bring in the revenue that a corporate season ticket does. And so, I'm not accusing Manchester United of this, but I can understand the optics from season tickets perspective, in that they look at this and think, well, this is just maybe another way that a club that's already shifted fans, a club that's already shafted fans by continued increase in ticket prices, that maybe they feel that they're being replaced essentially by a different clientele that can bring in the football club a lot more money.
Yeah, and fans are worried about this. And there's been a couple of areas of Old Trafford where normal seats in the main stand have been given over to the type of seats that you're saying that can bring in tourists, where the club can charge a lot more money for them. That said, the middle of the Stretford end was an executive area. Manchester United stripped that out, return it to general admission tickets. I think that ticket prices for Old Trafford are pretty competitive. I've got to say that. There's people who stand in and sit in the Stretford end, they're paying £40 for a ticket. Fans did benefit from a decade of no ticket price rises, but you're seeing this creep now, and it's not just at United, it's at lots of clubs. Ticket prices have become an issue again. They were a huge issue in the 1990s. It's when I first got into fan politics, if you like. We saw big price rises, and again when the Glazers took control at Old Trafford in 2005 and again in 2010. And then you had this calm because clubs were getting so much money from broadcast and commercialism, but now they're looking to see where they can bring extra money in, and it's tickets. And I had a discussion, and we didn't agree, Jim Ratcliffe and I, when I interviewed him for United We Stand, about Manchester United putting some ticket prices up to £66, and he said that Manchester United should not be cheaper than Fulham for a general admission ticket. And the point I made was that Manchester's a pretty working class city. Fulham, with respect to the many working class areas in Hammersmith, is far wealthier than Manchester. The demographics of the area are very different, and you've got to play to your own community. Manchester United are from Manchester, and you've got to be sensitive to that. So I think the people in charge, they've got to have a fuller understanding of the culture, of the away day culture as well, and that fans have got to keep the pressure on to keep general admission prices as competitive as possible. When I was a kid, I'd get the bus. I grew up 2 miles from Old Trafford. The bus was full of local kids. That bus has been empty since the late 90s, and that's really sad to me. And I celebrate Manchester United's global support. I really am proud of the fact that people around the world follow Manchester United. But United are from Manchester, and loads of Mancunians support United, and local people struggle to get tickets. I've said for years, Old Trafford should either be expanded or a new stadium is being muted by the club. That will alleviate some of the problems because it'll bring a bigger capacity. Manchester United, in my opinion, and not every fan agrees with this, should have a much bigger capacity than the 75,000 one at present.
You know what, and you'll know this, you'll know this more than any, is the fact where you mentioned it in regards to the culture, and it is a domino effect. When you listen, I think there is a wider problem where football's becoming a little bit more corporate and it's very business orientated. But you know when fans, the culture of the fans, the stadium, the energy, the aura, the noise. You know, and you outpriced local people who are passionate, and let me just say local people. I'm just the fans. I just think it's a domino effect, and maybe the powers that be don't understand that. Listen, I understand about bottom lines, and you know, as fans, we want investment in the clubs and the best players, but yet still the power of a stadium. You know, I was saying that in regards to Liverpool sometimes, where it just feels, you know, it doesn't feel the same. And I mean, you go to Old Trafford all the time. I just think there's a domino effect that the powers that be have to really realise that the culture is brought by the fans.
I've seen the change in demographics. I saw a massive change in the 1990s. Before that, football seemed very working class to me. And I don't mind Old Trafford and United and having executive areas, because they do bring in a disproportionate amount of revenue, and it is a business, and football clubs do have to be competitive if you want to go out and buy the best players. But the general admissions ticket prices, and this is a point I put to Omar Barada, the chief executive, last month, have got to be competitive. They've got to be affordable. You cannot cut off your core fans. Again, I don't mind people coming for a one-off game. You know, I meet people and they say, I'm a Man United fan, this is my first trip to Old Trafford, and they are wide-eyed and they are starry-eyed, and you can't deprive people from that. And the club do say that they've got a waiting list of tickets. They've got people who want to go to games who cannot get tickets for matches. So that is an issue as well. It's a complicated issue here. But going back to the core of this, the original reason for this phone call was that email which was sent out last week. And I think the tone of it was wrong, and that's why fans have been unhappy. I think football culture's got to be protected, not just at Manchester United, and other clubs are facing very similar issues with their fan groups as well, because there is always a temptation to sell the seat for more money.
Yeah, look, Andy, I could talk about this sort of stuff all evening, mate, but that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for your time, mate. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's Andy Mitten, the editor of United We Stand. You can sort of catch him on socials, etc. Bringing to life the issues that Manchester United fans are facing, all those fans receiving that sort of tone, that email from their own football club, accusing them of what many of them say they've done absolutely nothing of the sort. Now, keep your calls coming in. This is your show, 03717 223344. Whatever it is, whether you want to have a say on the debate that Bayo and I have been having about England, about where responsibility lies, about whether there's been an overreaction to Thomas Tuchel and his role in England, whether you're a Chelsea fan and you want to rave about Morgan Rogers, the fact that you've taken him off the hands of the champions Arsenal, or whether it's about Argentinian players returning to the Premier League. Do you want them still at your club after their dirty tactics? Keep your calls coming on. This is your show. The phone lines are free now. Get in touch.